Let's talk about Louisiana sweet corn. Today we're going to be pressure canning this Louisiana sweet corn, and we are going to cold pack it or raw pack. What I'm going to do first, I've got my corn. It's been shucked straight from the fields of Louisiana. We've shucked it and we've cut it off the cob. We're going to put it into our pint jars. You can use quart jars. It's really just according to what kind of portion you need, at home, or if you're using this to do a value-added product. So we're going to leave about 1 inch of head space on this, so we'll get a little bit out of there. Okay, that looks good. Now, sweet corn is considered a low-acid food. Low acid means it's a food that has a pH of 4.6 or higher. So the only safe way to can this and make it shelf stable is to pressure can it. Now, pressure canning involves the heat and temperatures between 240 and 250 degrees. A water bath canner is only going to get to the boiling point of water, which is 212 degrees. So you can never achieve the temperature that you need for low acid food canning with a water bath canner. So make sure when you're canning low acid foods, you're using the pressure canning method. Now we're going to add the boiling water to our jars of sweet corn. We're using distilled water today because depending on the mineral content of your water, you might come out with a little bit more cloudy product if you use tap water. It's perfectly fine for you to use it, but you're not going to have as clear of a product as if you use the distilled water. So I'm just going to ladle it into my jars here, and again, we want about 1 inch head space. I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt to each jar of sweet corn. This is strictly for flavor. This has nothing to do with the processing procedure or preserving the food. It's just for taste. Now for the pint jars, you put 1/2 teaspoon. If we were doing the quart jars, we would do 1 teaspoon. Okay, so before we put our lids on the jars, we just want to make sure we clean the rims really well so that we'll get a good seal on there. And I'm just using a damp dish towel. You could use a paper towel if you'd like. We've got our salt in there. We're going to put our lids on. So we're putting our rings on our jars, our bands on our jars, and we're going to only tighten them to what we call fingertip tight, not really, really tight. So they're ready to go into the pressure canner. So we've got our pressure canner on the stove. The water's beginning to heat up. We've got 3 quarts of water in this pressure canner. We also, if you'll look at the bottom here, we have our rack in the bottom. And you always want to have a rack on the bottom of your canner, whether it be water bath or pressure canner, because you don't want the jars to have contact with the bottom of the pot. So we'll begin putting our jars in. These get a little hot after you put the boiling water in, so it's good to use your jar grabbers. And you don't want to put them too close to each other. You don't want the jars touching, and you don't want to overload your canner. Part of the pressure canning process needs to have enough space in here to build up the correct amount of pressure. So we're going to go with 5 jars. So we're going to put our lid on. We're going to line up these arrows on the top of your pressure canner and lock it into place. So now that we have a steady stream of steam coming out of the top, we're going to put the pressure regulator on, and we will begin timing. So our processing of our Louisiana sweet corn is complete. We have turned off the heat, and we're going to move our pressure canner away from the heat source and let this pressure release on its own. We don't want to try to open it until the pressure is released. There's a little pin right back here that will drop down when the pressure gets released, and we'll see on our gauge it will go back down to 0. Now we're going to remove the lid from our pressure canner. We've let it come down in pressure, down to 0. We did a natural release. Our corn looks really good. We're going to lift it out and set it out for those to cool. Beautiful. And there you have it, some fresh Louisiana sweet corn canned in a pressure canner.